I'm Casey Morgan, and this is Training for Trail. Okay, it gives me great pleasure to welcome the one and only Mr. Mo Devlin. How are you, Mo?
Pretty good, Casey, pretty good. Enjoying life in Hong Kong. Training in the summer is always a bit of a challenge because it's hot and humid, but at least with the lack of travel, we have plenty of time to train. You know, there's no excuses for not getting out the door.
Exactly, Mo, and people will recognise from your dulcet tones that you're a fellow Scotsman in exile. How long have you been in Hong Kong for?
Been in Hong Kong now for about, it's got to be going on my 16th year.
Wow, 16 years, you must enjoy it, Mo.
Well, it's one of those things, you know, I'm like you, I'm from Glasgow. They say Glasgow's a great place to come from, just not so nice to go back to. So took the first bus out of there, spent some time in the US, lived in the Middle East, found my way to Asia, and just, you know, like a lot of people, fell in love with the place.
Do you miss Scotland
at all? Of course, I miss it in the summer when I have these visions of, you know, beautiful hot summer days, nice bike ride or a run in the mountains and then a lovely pub lunch. And then every time I go back and it rains for 3 weeks, I think to myself, oh yeah, there's a reason why I spend more time in other parts of the world.
Exactly.
While you're living in Spain.
Exactly. I miss it from time to time when you see like that one day of summer that's usually nice, but the rest of the time, not so much.
The curious thing about being Scottish is the further we live from Scotland, the more patriotically Scottish we become.
It's true, it's true. Then when we've been home for 2 weeks, we remember the reality.
Yeah.
So tell us a wee bit about your background in running, Mo, because you've got some speedy times on your resume.
So I was one of these skinny little kids, you know, big family, 5 or 6 boys in the family originally, and I was definitely the runt of the litter. Couldn't run, couldn't do a lot of sport, had really bad asthma when I was a kid. And just, you know, this is back in the early 60s and late 60s and the 70s. And one doctor just suddenly out of the blue when I was about 12 said to me, take up running, young man, it will definitely help your asthma. So I started running at 14 and never looked back. And started running, you know, the usual thing, doing a few races at school, doing a few local races, found that I had some little talent for it. Took up marathon running in the 80s. The big boom was marathon running. Glasgow had its first marathon, entered that. I think I ran about 250 on, you know, very little training, thinking, oh, this is easy. So I got into marathon for a few years and just loved the sport. It's perfect for me.
But you ran a pretty fast marathon in the end, didn't you?
I got up to 230.
That's shifting.
And that was probably at, I think, about in age 19 and 20, running 230. But my first love, Casey, was always football. I wanted to be a professional footballer. Only thing I was lacking was the talent. So I gave up running, went back to playing football for a couple of years until, in a typically Scottish manner, one of the coaches at the club said to me, "Wee man, you're no good. You'll never make it as a footballer." So that was my career.
Very encouraging.
Yeah. So but running has stood me in good stead ever since. You know, I've run all over the world, everywhere I've lived.
And where you are now in Hong Kong, it has a real thriving scene with the trail running, especially.
Amazing. So when I came to Hong Kong, I did a little bit of road running. There's a really vibrant road running scene, particularly 10K, half marathon races. There's literally dozens of them. And then I met some friends who were trail runners. I'd never heard of trail running. You know, coming from Britain, we either cross country. If you're not running on the road, you're a cross country runner or a fell runner. I'd never heard of this trail running. But I met some friends who were training for trail walker, Oxfam trail walker.
Okay.
Because I could just run a little bit, and they were quite a quick team. They're trying to run Oxfam trail walker in under 14 hours, which is quite fast. They basically asked me to be a mule for them, carry their water and their food and run for 20, 30 kilometres, which I did and absolutely loved it. And my love affair with trail running was born from that.
That race in particular, that was my introduction to Hong Kong. And for people who don't know it, it's a race of 100 kilometres where there's 4 people in a team. Everyone has to stay together from start to finish. And how many teams are there, Mo? Like 5,000 teams or something?
There are, they take in about 5,000 teams. It's one of the biggest, sponsorship raising events in Asia. Yeah,
it's incredible. I mean, 20,000 runners all running 100k. And the start, it's quite something to see, isn't it?
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, there will be the winning team will run it in under 12 hours, and then there'll be teams who take 3 days to run, hike, camp the course. So it's just it's an amazing festival of trail running in Hong Kong.
Yeah, and I mean the trail running calendar there. Every weekend you have a choice every weekend.
Well, you were one of the pioneers, I guess, on your doing trail walker, and then you came out and you ran the very first Nine Dragons, which is an iconic race here in Hong Kong.
Yeah, fantastic race.
Probably 5 years ago, there might have been 50 trail races a year. Now there's regularly 3, 4, sometimes 5 trail races every weekend in Hong Kong.
And all very well attended.
Well attended, some of the best organised races in the world. Yeah, it's an incredible trail running community. There's thousands of runners. We all know each other. We all support each other. We see each other at regular races and at events. It's become a big part of my family. It's been great.
It's a very good scene, and you've had some very good results over the years you've been there. But it's fair to say the past year you've had a bit of a mixed bag with injuries, setbacks, and false starts, etc.
Well, it's interesting. I have a friend who's an endurance athlete, and he's into these ultra endurance events. He's just done the world's first Everest man, where he swam the distance of Mount Everest. He biked the height of Mount Everest, and then he ran the height of Mount Everest. And but he's only been in endurance sport for about 5 years. So he's got relatively fresh legs, whereas I've just been told by my doctors that basically I've got so many miles on the clock that everything is wearing out. So yeah, my first few years racing really well, racing frequently, probably a little bit too frequently, getting some good results, but I guess it all catches up with you, it takes its toll. And the last year I've basically gone either racing and doing well, or being injured and not racing at all.
Exactly, and that's what kind of brings us to today and the Zone 2 challenge, because we've worked together for a while, and motivation is never a problem for you. I would say the opposite is true, trying to hold you back from time to time and prevent you from becoming injured again. And I know you've had very good results, so the temptation when you've been injured is just to get back into it. Running hard and is what you enjoy, but it's safe to say that approach hasn't been working the past year, so we decided to give this Zone 2 training a try to redevelop your aerobic base and allow your body time to heal.
Well, I guess, Casey, this is where your coaching genius sheds its light, because if you'd asked me to do this a couple of years ago, I would have laughed at you and said, running slow, what's the point of running slow? But you were patient, you picked your moment, and you got me when I'm at my most weakest. And the promise of, we're going to break you down and rebuild you, I couldn't resist. I couldn't say no.
So, well, you tried. There was resistance. There was resistance. So how was it to begin with, Mo?
So to be honest, it was frustrating. and also demoralizing because, you know, like a lot of people, and for one thing about runners, you know, we're quite often alpha types, and we kind of, you know, our self-esteem and our self-perception is based on how we run.
It's true.
If we're not running fast, if we're not, you know, beating the people around us that we think we should beat, then we think there's something wrong with us. So for the first 2 weeks, you know, I was experiencing having to run slow, and then I live at the bottom of a hill. I basically got a 1.5 kilometer climb to anywhere I want to run. I first have to run 1.5K uphill, and I'd set my heart rate monitor to zone 2, 129. I'd run 200 meters, beep 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 beep, start walking. I'd run another 200-300 meters, beep 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 beep, start walking. And I thought, oh, my grandmother could do this quicker than I'm going right now.
And I can empathise with you, because for me it was exactly the same. And you were the inspiration for the Zone 2, because I never like to ask athletes I work with to do something which I wouldn't be willing to do myself. So I decided to join you. And after a week and a half, I was thinking, Mo can do this himself. But what happened next?
Well, it's interesting, Casey, that you said I was your inspiration, because you were my nemesis. Because we kind of started this at the same time. Although after 10 days, you were sending me messages saying, great, I'm suddenly getting quicker for the same effort and the same heart rate over my training course. And I was saying, Casey, I'm 2 weeks in and I'm still as slow as a hedgehog on a hot summer's day. So I was going the other way.
I remember the message about a woman passing you with her dog.
Yes, and 2 massive bags of shopping. So basically, it took me, maybe this is good because I'm a little bit older, but it took me about 3 weeks of just slogging it out, sticking with it, telling myself, Casey knows what he's doing. Casey knows what he's doing. Damn that Casey Morgan, I hope he knows what he's doing. But after about 3 weeks, just like you predicted, I suddenly one day, I got about halfway up the hill before my heart rate got out of zone. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. And then what happened over the course of a week, I went from stopping 3 or 4 times on that climb to stopping twice, to stopping once, to after 4 weeks, I was getting to the top of the road, not having to stop, but still in zone. So I started to realize, okay, I'm getting stronger, you know, in this zone. So there's definitely some signs of improvement.
It's a good feeling when that begins to happen, because it gives you the motivation to continue.
Well, as I said, for the first 3 weeks, I was thinking, you know, this is definitely not for me. When, you know, every week I was messaging you, when can I go out for a real run? I didn't even consider it real running. When can I go for a real run? But the other thing I did notice, Casey, was that, you know, I've been running like a lot of runners. I've been carrying little niggles, and after a run I was sore. And I noticed that one thing you did do straight away from the first week, you bumped my volume up a little bit, which was interesting, and you did it very subtly without even telling me. Before I knew it, I was running an extra 10-15 kilometers a week and feeling great on it. So right from the start, I noticed that I was recovering better and feeling better, and these little niggles that I'd been carrying were just starting to ebb away. So that was really, really positive.
And we did give you some little snippets of fast running. We included some strides just to keep the nerves active, and to stop you from going completely round the twist.
Yeah, the little strides were a nice little sweetener, just kept me going.
And some downhill reps, which they weren't so successful for you, were they? They were giving you some issues.
Well, you know what they were? I'd had some problems with my knee, just a little bit of instability on my right knee. So I think they were a great idea, because although I was doing them every week and doing them quite hard and quite religiously, and I think on reflection, doing them for 2 or 3 weeks was great, because my knee is definitely more stable, and I'm much more comfortable running downhill than I was 6 weeks ago. But maybe what I just needed was, 2 or 3 weeks on, a week or two off, just to let the knee stabilise and recover, and then maybe come back at it. But definitely, overall, it's definitely been a valuable part of the training.
And did you notice anything else, Mo? Were you measuring your resting heart rate or anything? Was there any differences there?
Resting heart rate has been pretty stable. Mine's quite low anyway. It's around 45, 46. So I'm not sure. It'd be quite difficult to get it any lower. But what I did notice over time was that it was taking longer for my heart rate to get up when I was running, and even working harder sometimes it was actually taking a bit longer to get my heart rate elevated.
One of the big differences I noticed was a similar theme. Whenever I was going out of that zone 2, initially to come back down into zone 2 was taking a bit of time, even walking.
Yeah.
But after 3 or 4 weeks, the recovery, like if I did go too high, the recovery was so much faster coming back down into that zone 2.
Well, the other thing that was interesting, Casey, in relation to that was after a few weeks, you could actually, after about 2 or 3 weeks, I could almost not look at my heart rate monitor. I could tell when I was on my upper limit or just over it. And now I can run almost on feel and know when I'm in my zone or out of my zone. And like you said, I just ran today. If I get out of the zone, you can almost go out your zone and come back into your zone whenever you want.
It's true. There's definitely an improved awareness after 3 or 4 weeks. You definitely become more attuned to your effort level.
Yeah, which I think is priceless. Good. That's really valuable too. And
in Hong Kong at the moment, how is the temperature?
So the only complication has been that when we started this, the temperature was probably 26, 27, maybe 28 degrees. The relative humidity was about 60 to 70%. Over the 6 weeks, 8 weeks, the temperature's now gone up to 34, 35 degrees, sneaking above that some days, and the humidity is up to 80, 85%. Okay. So you're working a lot harder for the same effort.
Yeah, so it's a difficult time of year for you to be doing that type of training. It will be interesting to see how your body feels with that type of training in winter.
I think obviously doing this, this heat training, I'm trying to put a positive spin on it. I'm doing some heat acclimatization in the hope that it will stand me in good stead when the weather cools down, and I can actually just open up the engine and see what I can do.
Absolutely. Well, Mo, we'll wrap it up for now, but we'll definitely catch up again a bit further down the line, and we'll see how your body's responding in the winter when we've built this base and the season starts in Hong Kong.
What do you mean? We keep going? I thought that was it, finished now.
There's plenty more to come, Mo, don't worry. No, in fact.
No, I have to say, one thing I have to say is that I'm totally sold on the process. Not just because I'm finally, running reasonably well again, but it's just I feel stronger. I feel more resilient. I'm definitely the fact that I'm not getting any niggles which I would normally have after a concentrated training block. So I'm looking forward to keep going, building in some intensity when I can. I've had a couple of little time trials in that period and shown some marked improvement. So quite happy with it.
We did also steal some Strava crowns again, Mo, I noticed when you were let loose on the trails.
Yeah, that was just a one-off. Don't tell anybody.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing how it progresses in the future, Mo, and I really appreciate your time.
Oh no, Casey, listen, thank you very much. Obviously, I would never have considered, adopting this training program, this type of methodology. but I'm definitely a convert. I can see the benefits. I'm experiencing the benefits, and as you say, long may it continue.
Fantastic, Mo. Thanks a million.
All right, all the best. Take
Done.
care, and lots of love to Mrs. Morgan.
Thanks, Mo. Take care.
Bye, Casey.